Meiske, can you tell us a bit about your biggest learnings, frustrations, and what you envision in future for SabangMerauke?
Dealing with diversity, prejudice, tolerance area is not really easy. So we chose the hard way. So the biggest learning that we have is like we don't want to fall into the side into being tolerant and intolerant, quote unquote. So we just learned recently about the simple, actually it's not simple, about the recent issues of is it okay to say Merry Christmas from the Muslim to non-Muslims? So we don't want to give a hint that we put side, but we need to have the understanding to people, not for being intolerant or tolerant, but to have respect towards people who have different ideas. So it's a quite a challenge for us because sometimes people want to put us down into debating not the sense of respecting the issue, respecting the people, but only debating on the on that situation. So what we do, we try to instill values to the participant, to the kids, not that we want to try this to change the social norm. So when they came and selected to go to Jakarta, every day for 3 weeks, we want to put values, and that is quite challenging because we have to put the best interest for these kids and put the general values that can be accepted universally as a human being, not only as a Japanese, not only as a Sumatranese, but as a human being. That is the first learning. So that goes into our second learning, that SabangMerauke is very open for feedback. So we build a culture to open and receive constructive feedbacks. We call it Kaizen. So every single situation, after the program, after the days ended, we try to sit and have feedback sessions. So we want to build a habit in the volunteers, not to have a sense that we are doing the best things, but we are also trying to have continuous learning, continuous improvement, because we know that dealing with kids, dealing with teenagers, we need constructive feedbacks in all of what we are doing. So those are the two things that we have learned so far, and yeah. I remember that I haven't give you the videos of the kids. So why I am trying to say that prejudice is a very dangerous, and why we do what we do, because sometimes if we just keep silent and not speak up towards bad prejudice, maybe in some countries we can see that prejudice is snowballed into a desire to hurt or even kill people. So since the very beginning, since the very young age, we want to disrupt this prejudice and give them opportunities to learn another values, another views, so they can grow up with options, and we equip them to discern between good or bad, or even the good and better option. So I would like to show and share with you all the stories of Anthony from Aceh Singkil.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Awalnya Pak Guru ada menawarkan sama saya, kamu mau ikut SabangMerauke, dan saya nanya sama Pak Guru itu, SabangMerauke itu apa Pak? Saya bilang. Dan dia berkata sama saya, SabangMerauke itu adalah 1000 anak yang merantau dan kembali lagi. Saya mengetahui bagaimana tata cara mereka melaksanakan ibadah. merasa senang karena saya belum pernah mendapatkan teman yang berbeda agama, karena saya selalu mendapatkan teman yang selalu sama agama kami.
Saya ini keluarga yang kemana-mana bersama-sama, kemana aja lah kita pergi itu bareng-bareng gitu. Ketika kita harus pergi ke gereja gitu, kan kita mau nawarin, ayo mau ikut pergi ke gereja kah gitu ya. Takut sebetulnya gitu, karena kan mungkin untuk beberapa orang muslim nggak boleh nih masuk ke gereja mengikuti ibadah walaupun hanya duduk gitu.
Benar kata Kak Ray gitu kan, managing director yang SabangMerauke, tolong udah kalau misalnya ikut acara ini itu buka mata, buka hati, buka pikiran bahwa orang yang berbeda agama dengan kita itu baik loh sebenarnya.
Jadi kita bukan melihat bahwa oh kamu orang Muslim, kamu orang Katolik, kamu orang Kristen, kamu orang Buddha. Kita tuh benar-benar satu Indonesia gitu, semua kita anggap sama.
Setiap orang tamu yang datang dan menginap di rumah kami pasti punya tantangannya masing-masing. Karena kan manusia itu berbeda-beda. Salah satu aspeknya memang aspek agama. Tapi yang lebih penting itu adalah memang kan manusia itu unik. Dengan pengalamannya yang berbeda. Contohnya dengan Anthony sekarang lah. Anthony kan datang dari Aceh Singkil. Ya kan, dengan segala macam perbedaannya, perbedaan makanan dan lain sebagainya. Itu merupakan tantangan tersendiri buat kami ya.
Satu hal itu adalah keberanian. Keberanian untuk mengubah apa yang dia bisa ubah.
Indonesia, I understand that it takes a lot of effort to maintain relationship while you maintain your faith. So these are the things that we want to give insights for the kids, so they will grow up as a people who could respect others, and it's okay to be different because this is a country of differences and Bhinneka Tunggal Ika is real, and we would like to see the leaders in them. And yeah, currently we are investing on giving values for them.
Thank you very much, Meiske. I'm gonna hand over to my co-MC, Pak Petra, to lead in the Q&A with all of you. I'm sure all of you have some questions and wonderings, want to find out more.
Okay,
Silakan,
thanks, Anna. I was thinking I was going to have a free lunch by just sitting down here, but so can I just get a show of hands? How many people have been working in social issues or for over 15 years in the room? Come on, show your hands. 15 years, right? And so for more than 15 years, lebih dari 15 tahun. Okay, so the rest, I guess, in a sense, relatively newcomers. But I think this is what's interesting, trying to relate it also to what was discussed by Pa Yanuar in this morning's presentation, these international agendas, that the issues, as you were saying, Veronica, these are not new issues. These are pre-existing issues. It's just how are we addressing these issues now within these new spaces, yeah. And I think just looking at the challenge, we're not even looking at what Pa Yanuar was presenting, is looking at Indonesia and the challenges of inequality in terms of the infrastructure, that really stark picture of Indonesia at night, mana yang terang, mana yang gelap, which one is dark and which one is light. And it's challenges. Pa Rudi, you've been working on national programs that have been delivering to 70,000 villages. But if let's say all this infrastructure comes in, does it? It provides the opportunities, but it also, what's the risk that it's going to? What are the risks? And do we only focus on the risks, or do we look at the opportunities? So I'd like to make this more interactive as possible. Who are you? Do you have any questions? Do you have any responses? But I also want to hear from you. How are you looking at these new spaces in addressing your these challenges of bullying, discrimination, prejudice, misinformation, trafficking, dominance and patriarchy, the whole technology bias towards related to dominance as well, and lack of integrity. So, any questions, please? So let's take 3 questions or responses first, please. Mick?
Hello. Hello. My name is Bappa and I'm from India. So right now I'm working on preventive part of protecting children in our society. So first of all, we can't live or move forward without technology. But do you think somehow technology can ignore our beliefs, societal customs and tradition? Because I have an example right now. So in USA few days back, a visitor visited to the primitive society and he was killed. So this is a result of that primitive society has no much communication with so-called our mainstream of society. So this is my questions.
Okay, so that's the first question. We'll hold on to that. Have a think about that. Maybe Veronica and also from Meiske. Sorry, the second question here or response.
Okay, thank you. My name is Arafa from Yayasan Bakti. The first I want to ask to Mas Dedy about the digital literacy. Is digital literacy can access by the disability people or children? Because we know many of them is become a victim of sexual violence. And then how this is digital literacy can access by the people or the children who live in a remote area. And then the second for Ibu Meiske, this is SabangMerauke is for children or the younger, but how about the adult? Can they access SabangMerauke? Because we know there is a need to give understanding too for the adult. How about the tolerancy? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other responses? Anyone want to share also? Please.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Oluwagbemiga from Nigeria. Thanks so much. You guys are really doing amazing work regarding internet usage and support services for children and the vulnerable. But my question is that how do we balance policy framework with internet services and care and protection services for vulnerable children? Thank you.
So, balance policy frameworks?
Policy framework from all these services we've been providing, especially internet services and then care and protection for children, especially vulnerable children living in internally displaced camps, living in refugee areas and outreach areas. Thank you.
Okay. Any responses from the speakers? Veronica, you've looked at different policy frameworks as well, and also what's your perspective in bridging that?
Okay. I might try and answer some of the questions in one go. Let's see how I do and protest if I'm not answering the question adequately. So in terms of policy framework, this is a big problem, really, because I think the way policy has been developed or legislation has been really fragmented, and sometimes, you know, it relates to the issue of issue blindness that I mentioned earlier. You know, we try and fix one problem and cause other problems. So there's an example in a refugee camp for Syrian refugees in Turkey, which is organized by UNHCR, the UN Agency for Refugees. And they were offered this technology by none other than the former MI6 and Homeland Security people who've set up a security company. So they were scanning irises, they were collecting fingerprints of arrivals in the name of, you know, protecting them to provide them with food and the care that they needed, but complete disregard for who is actually collecting this data and where is it going. In fact, there have been cases in Europe of children who were self-harming so that they couldn't take their fingerprints, because children's fingerprints are often, refugee children and migrant children, their fingerprints are often taken without their consent, without saying what's happening to them, and there have been cases of children burning their own fingers so that they can't take their. So this is a huge problem, and oftentimes those who are making the policies don't understand technology. So I don't really have an answer, but this is something that the United Nations is starting to look at. They are, you know, in the Council of Europe, there are some people who are looking at these, so we can have a conversation further. In terms of the question on India, I think if I understand correctly, you were asking about, you know, supporting or accessing people in rural areas that don't have access to internet. I know, like Localization Lab, I have read of other cases where people have, for instance, made a sort of mobile library, a sort of online library in small villages, I think in Zimbabwe and a few other countries. I have the information somewhere, I can share it with you, where they, you know, you have one person who then teaches everyone else in the village where there isn't enough access for lots of computers how to use these. I've also read about an app that has been developed where people have mobile phones, where an app that gives people information about, you know, people come to your village to offer you jobs in, you know, Dubai and all of these countries, or your children, they're going to provide education, but it's often actually trafficking. So some people have developed an app for people, very, very basic in local languages, on what questions to ask to make sure that you're not actually being, you know, being trafficked. So there are lots of little things happening, and a lot of these are, you know, open to be scaled up and tried in different places. A lot of them are very, very low tech as well, so you don't need fancy phones. Some of them are even used, you know, I don't know if you have this in Indonesia, but in Europe you have those, you know, you dial and it says, if you want this, press 1, if you want this, press 2. Some people have reversed this technology and are using it. They've created free phone lines in local languages, so you can call up and ask questions rather than them calling you. You can call them and say, if you want information about, you know, sexual reproductive health, press this button, and you can get through. And so all of these have been developed by local communities where there is not so much access. I don't know if this is helpful, but I can give you more information.
Okay. Meiske,
Thank you, Ibu Arafa. Yeah, for the student exchange program, the participants are the junior high school student for the Adik SabangMerauke, and then university student for the Kakak SabangMerauke, and the family in the Jabodetabek area for the host family SabangMerauke. So, good question on how to tackle the adult on intolerance things. So in our raising awareness movement, we also have series of we can call it diversity luncheon, diversity dinner, diversity talk. So we are now creating more dialogue forum while eating, as we are an eastern part of as we are orang timur ya. So while eating, we invited people who are different, so religious leaders, social movement activists, basically just sit, dining and talk, because we believe when we interact, mostly our perceptions is change. So that's how we tackle the adult and also the volunteers.
That's very good. Dedy, did you have any responses?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. The first question will be for the disabled people. To be honest, we haven't done a specific program on digital literacy for disabled people. But I think next year we can develop a special program for them. I just want to share one experience done by one of our partner, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. They already have a special program for disabled people in terms of the usage of technology. So I think it can be developed by many other stakeholders in Indonesia. For example, if we provide e-book or online book for people, we also consider to give access to disabled people by providing, like a special version of the book, so they can access the book. Thank you so much for the input. I think we can really consider this for the development for the next year. The second question related to the remote area people. We call it in Indonesia as daerah 3T. For the daerah 3T, we already done several programs for them. Pandu Digital, we already done several Pandu Digital programs in daerah 3T. We also encourage many volunteers from Relawan TIK to reach out remote area by doing some workshop, capacity buildings, and so on and so forth. So in terms of the remote area program, we are also working on it, and we are also going to develop for the next year program.
Mas Dedy, you've also been working as an expert staff in the Ministry of Information and IT. How about your experience around linking your work with some of the government frameworks or policy frameworks? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Okay, one of the pillars in SiBerkreasi is digital governance. So we are not only talking about how to deliver knowledge to people in terms of digital literacy, but we are also working on digital governance, how we govern internet and social media, for example. In SiBerkreasi, we have a division, special division to work on research. And the research can be advocate to the government. For example, if we are working on data classification related to data privacy, related to data protection, for example, we done a research, and we also work with the government to shape the idea on data protection, data classification, and data management in Indonesia. So I think we can also work together with many stakeholders on this issue. In terms of regulation, the government of Indonesia really needs inputs from the stakeholders, especially from the academicians. So we are waiting many inputs from academicians, CSOs, communities in terms of the internet governance in Indonesia. We have Internet Governance Forum in Indonesia, what we call as IDIGF, Indonesia Internet Governance Forums. And in this forum, I think we also can discuss about many things related to the regulation in terms of the internet and the betterment of the internet in Indonesia.
Okay, thanks, Mas Dedy. Any other inputs? Anybody else with experiences or anything you'd like to share about what you've been doing in developing, opening up access?
Okay. Hi. Oh, should I stand?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Nina, and my question is, well, I think because I'm studying law that most of my professors are very interested in definitions or concepts. And I think a lot of lawmakers, they dabble a lot on concepts and who are children, and one thing that has become, a hot debate is best interest of the child. It's very basic, but I think it's the foundation of all our studies. Now, children are viewed as future individuals. We are concerned about children because they are our future, but seldom as who they are presently. And contextualizing that with technological development. And this question is, this can be answered by all three of the panelists. With that in mind, how should laws, according to your experiences and your dialogues and your work, contextualize best interest of the child, or if perhaps you have encountered different definitions, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Just on the same table, there was another person.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for panelists for the interesting presentations. I want to address my question to Mas Dedy. So you mentioned about relawan TIK, and I want to know more about it, like how relawan TIK can participate in the practices and discourses of children and technology, and as well as child protection, while they might come from different backgrounds and values. Thank you.
Okay, Masuk.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Astrid. I think basically my question is to Ibu Meiske. By the way, thank you for all the presentation from all the panelists here. We know that tolerance, especially if based on religion or race, are very sensitive issues here in Indonesia. So even now, we still see some issues regarding this problem exists in Indonesia, although of course some actions also taken to counter these issues. So I have two questions. So the first question is, what are the big challenges for you when you start at first the Sabang and Merauke? Because I think you started 2012, yeah? Of course, so I'm really interested in how to know how you get, overcome all those challenges at the first, when you first start the Sabang and Merauke. And the second question is, after seeing the video about Anthony, I think at the end of the video shows when Anthony hugs the foster parents in Jakarta, yeah, before he went back to Aceh Singkil, right? So I just want to know if the students return home, do you still keep contact and or track with them, and how do they spread the teaching that's been given to them to their surrounding society or community? Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Veronica, do you have any perspectives on how laws can be better contextualized?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you for your question, Nina. It's a really good question. I think you're really hitting the core of the challenges with children's rights, is that the reality is most people, governments and adults don't really believe children have rights. We believe that they have a right to be protected, but we don't believe they have a right to choose their religion or privacy or all of these. All of these are often put aside in the name of protection. It doesn't have to be that way. And I think the interpretation of the best interest of the child has been detailed by the Committee on the Rights of the Child, and there's a general comment. The best interest of the child is a pillar of the Convention on Rights of the Child. Unfortunately, many adults tend to think that means we know what's best for them, which isn't the case. And then to bring it back to technology, let's face it, I can't speak for everyone in the room, but I can certainly speak for myself. I had to learn to use technology as an adult. Children today are growing up with it. Their experience of technology is entirely different. They probably have more to teach us than the other way around. So this is the area where we have to involve them. We have to involve them in the lawmaking. Why don't we get children to write the terms and conditions of all of these apps? They should own the data. They should make those decisions. So we have to involve them, including in lawmaking. On that note, the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, they write guidelines for states on new issues every so often. The next one is on children's rights in the digital space. They're going to start working on it in January, and it's going to be an open consultative process where anyone interested is welcome to contribute. So I would urge you to actually look into that. I think information will be made public in January.
Dedy, thank you, Veronica. Dedy, do you have any of your partners working in this space as well, engaging children?
Yeah, we have some partners working on children issue. As I mentioned earlier, we have Sejiva Foundation, EKPAT Indonesia, IDCOP. IDCOP is Indonesia Child Online Protection. It consists of 5 institutions, I think, like ICT Watch, Indonesia, and so on and so forth. So we are also working on this issue. Related to the next question, Relawan TIK Indonesia. Relawan TIK Indonesia is ICT volunteer, Information and Communication Technology volunteer. I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation that Relawan TIK Indonesia right now already has more than 8,000 members in 34 provinces in Indonesia. So we are trying to improve their capability to deliver contents and materials to the public of Indonesia by using Pandu Digital. Because Pandu Digital is like a workshop to empower people, to improve their capability, to improve their capacity, to deliver message to more people surrounding them. And in this case, we have one section in the Pandu Digital, what we call as digital parenting. Digital parenting, we deliver material to those relawan TIK. For example, how to teach public digital parenting, about digital parenting. So we have special program on this. And you can also collaborate with Relawan TIK Indonesia if you need kind of assistance on digital parenting. Maybe you can also open our website, SiBerkreasi.id, and you can also communicate with us if you are interested in collaborate with Relawan TIK Indonesia. Any other question, Cindy? Okay.
Thanks, Dedy. Well, Meiske?
Okay, this is a hard question. So, how should law contextualize the best interest of child? In case of SabangMerauke, I might not be able to answer in terms of concept because I have forgotten what I've learned. But maybe I can say that we use law as a framework to design our program, to design our curriculum. For example, we understand that these children needs to be protected in terms of their rights. So at the first, after the selection process, we distribute sort of, surat izin for the parents, for the consent, the permit consent for the parents, for the school, and also for the child itself. So not only shifting the obligation to their parents, but we try to acknowledge their own rights to say that, yes, I want to participate in this program, and yes, I understand what will going on. So maybe in more applicable way, we try to, contextualize legal into the things that this child or this participant can also understand rather than signing like pages of consent. So maybe that's my answer about that. And moving on to Ibu Astrid question. Big challenge when we first start, actually when we first start on 2012, the intolerance issue is not really heated like during the election of the governor of DKI Jakarta. So we had a chance to talk more freely actually back then. And like Ibu Agnes said, we try to change what we can change. The challenge is more like what I said earlier, because 7 of us, the co-founders, were no one actually. We were young, we had no notable heritage or whatsoever. We just merely teenagers, not teenagers actually, young adults. So at first we dealt with credibility. So we built network, we try to involve as much as we can, and the issue was to build credibility from the city and also from the teachers and the schools where the participants join us. And then how to maintain the contact with the participants. We form a part of community with the family mentor and also the kids of SabangMerauke. So it's like a small community to keep the spirit up. So yes, we acknowledge that sometimes it is hard to maintain the communication, especially for the participant who live in quite a remote area because of the, sometimes they change numbers, sometimes we just try to send message on Facebook. And yeah, we had some participants who didn't contact with us again, but we try to encourage the family and also the kakak because it is closer to them to put their best effort to maintain the relation. Some success stories that I can tell is the alumni of Family SabangMerauke established an independent foundation to make sure that the alumni of Adik SabangMerauke can continue to university or to higher studies. So we are quite amazed because at first we didn't plan about that, but it is a mere initiative from the alumni of parents. So we encourage them to do activities with them and also with the kakak because they are the university students, they are more flexible. We had stories too that these kakak make a movement in the in a place where the participant live. So it's like, it's more organic. We didn't set up like a formal ways to maintain communication with them, but we do encourage the parents and the family so to maintain the relation with them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Meiske.